The million dollar question: how do entrepreneurs transition from self-employed to owning a business that turns a profit? My name is Chris Waters, and this podcast has the million dollar answer. Welcome to CEO Secrets. Welcome to another episode of CEO Secrets. I'm your host, Chris Waters. I'm here with a very special guest, Klaus, out of Phoenix, Arizona, a foremost expert in direct mail and the founder of Offer Depot, one of the fastest growing platforms online to help consumers have a side-by-side comparison when they're looking to sell their home. Kenny, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you, man. Chris, I appreciate it as always, and good to be back catching up with you and your crew. So,
man, you're in the backyard of all of these iBuyers, these internet buyers like Zillow and Open Door. How have those guys impacted your real estate business in Phoenix?
And it's been a journey. I mean, Open Door launched in Phoenix, which is still their main hub, over 6 years ago now. And, like a lot of people I talk to throughout the country, as they start to open in these other markets, I hear a lot of the same comments about, they're not going to affect my business. They're lowballers. Nobody would take that offer. They're not making any money, which I always laugh at that one. I'm like, well, who cares? That's not your problem. I mean, if they're taking market share and clients, it's something you need to be aware of. But most importantly for me was just really a mindset shift. And I went, there is some consumer demand for this product in a local market. If I'm a local real estate professional, shouldn't I know about, all the options available to the consumer? Meaning I'd much rather the consumer be in conversation with me about instant offers or direct offers, not them directly and then me over here hoping that they call me for the retail side. Because what we started to see is some of our database and some of our good clients or listing appointments we had went on, we didn't hear from them again. And next thing you know, Open Door owned the property. And there's a couple myths, I think, early on for us. One is there's no way somebody's going to take, now keep in mind, the fees have completely changed over the last couple of years. But when we first started in Phoenix, they were, 12 to 14% would be their fee structure, minus whatever their offer was. And you're like, well, who would take that? And then all of a sudden you start having these conversations and you're like, you know what? There are people who will take that for what we call the 3 C's, right? The idea of them having convenience and certainty and control in a transaction that typically the buyer has been the one who's controlled the transaction. I mean, picking closing dates, you hope they're qualified, all the things that we've all dealt with. And if people know, hey, I can pick my closing date in 17 days or 58 days and simultaneous everything, there is a value to that. And so I think the myth for me was thinking, well, everybody wants as much as possible for their home, right? I mean, that's just how it is, because that's how it's always felt, because we only had one lane to provide them, which was get the home ready to go to market, put a sign in the yard, market it, hope to find a buyer that's qualified and pays a market price, and we close it. But when you sit down and you start going, well, we've got multiple options here for you. One is, what we'll call an instant offer, a direct offer. This is without putting your home on the market, no showings, no open houses. You have control, certainty, convenience, all those things. Here's what that offer looks like. And then here's a go-to-market offer. It quickly pivoted our business from going, we need to quit waiting to see if they bring it up. We just need to lead the conversation. And I'm giving you a really short version, of how much business we lost during that time by kind of having our head in the sand and going, well, they're not going to make it. People aren't going to take those offers. And then we started seeing their fee go to 10%, then 9%, then 8%. Currently in Phoenix, they're at 5%. So
how has that affected your business as now that they're at a 5% fee? I mean, it's if you charge standard, not standard, but like typical commission of like 5 to 6%. How can you compete with the iBuyer?
Well, that's kind of the point right now in Phoenix. If it's under 400,000 or 500,000, their offers in most cases are within, 2 to 3% of market value. Sometimes they're over market value, quite honestly. And we have to tell people, take it and run. their algorithms made a mistake, I would take that offer. But how do you compete? To me, and a lot of agents don't like the conversation, but the reality of it is the relationship is what I valued more than anything. Like, I want to keep that person as a client. And so if I get paid a referral fee, say with Open Door of 1%, but I still got paid something and I help them go buy a house, or they refer 3 other people to me, it was all about that relationship and ultimately doing what's in the best interest of the consumer. And if I know there's a buyer in our market that's willing to pay cash and offering a fair number, and even if it isn't fair, the benefit early on was we got offers no matter what. And some of them, if the house was 300, the net offer minus their fee and everything may be, say 265, just throw out a number. We would find out very quickly how serious the seller was about their pricing. And if that was even something they would consider, if you took, say, use the number 6% off of 300,000, now you're at 280. So maybe they're within $12,000 to $15,000 difference. You'd really find out. The seller would be like, really? Like, and we can wrap this up today and I don't have to have anybody in my house. And now you throw this pandemic into the market. Well, who wants anyone in their house if they can help it? Who wouldn't love to just have their house sold and go buy their new house? So I just looked at it like, as a consumer myself, I've got kids and pets and things. And if I'm trying to sell my house, would it be great to just have the certainty and have an offer before I even go to market? And if I like the offer, I'm done. It's basically one contingency, which is a home inspection. And by the way, they make that pretty easy and they just allow you to give them a credit. You don't even have to do the repairs. So, it's not for everyone, don't get me wrong, but it is definitely growing, and the awareness to it here in the Valley is growing. So I looked at it and went, well, if I sit down with Chris and his family, if I don't talk to you about what, and the consumer doesn't know what an iBuyer is, but let's just say, if I don't mention, hey, Chris, have you heard of companies like Open Door, OfferPad, Zillow? And you're going to go, yeah, actually I have. And then a percentage of the time, they'd actually get up from their chair and go over to the kitchen drawer and pull out the offers that they already had. Well, I'd much rather know that and then be their consultant and guide them through, here's what this offer actually is. They don't show the HOA, they don't show tax prorations. This offer doesn't include closing costs. Really explain to them that, hey, this is not as is. And then here's what I think I could sell it for. What's in your best interest? And kind of an analogy or term I've been using is, it used to feel like if I came to your house, Chris, I'd sit on the other side of the table from you and I'd almost be negotiating with you to hire me and to earn my commission and hope that the sales price I thought you liked. Now, we just sit on the same side of the table as you and we just look at the offers together and help you decide what's in your best interest. And ultimately, you don't give them a reason to have to choose you or direct iBuyer. And like I said, what we found is that the relationship is where the value is. And if you do this for people, they will then refer you to other people, because some of the things we talk about in our marketing is, we'll get you multiple offers without having to do anything. You don't have to give out your information. You don't have to give out your cell phone number. You don't have to give out your email address, because if you do, now these guys have that data and they can turn around and sell that data. They can keep calling in, but that kind of thing. So we talk about the privacy side of things, of really protecting their data while we're getting those multiple offers. And in Phoenix, you have, what we call Zoo, right? Zillow, Open Door, OfferPad. There's also local buyers who, you've got institutional buyers. So you've got multiple sources to get more than one offer. And what I think the client has really enjoyed with the service that we're providing is they really feel like we've exhausted all options. Why does someone hire you in the first place? It's to solve the problem they have, which is buying and selling real estate. And I've already come with the number one thing they want, which is an offer. And so, the idea of running at this thing instead of away from it. And if you look, since I've been kind of speaking and teaching on this, because I had to learn the hard way, the momentum has only grown. And now the pandemic, they're all starting to come back bigger and stronger. And, to me, it was kind of a no-brainer. Yes, it hurt our average commission overall to a degree, but yet we've done more business because of it. So
let me ask you a quick question.
Yep.
So with this front end platform you built, offerdepot.com, how are you getting your message out there? What advertising channels or distribution channels are you using to drive traffic to offerdepot.com?
So keep in mind too, when I started Offer Depot, it was like you had all these big iBuyers and you're like, and so we have two. We run, Offer Depot, which is honestly is nothing really more than a website to attract leads to it. And then we have, Klaus Team Offers, which is built into our website so that if our consumer goes to our website, we want them to know that we do that too. And then Offer Depot is meant to be your marketing avenue. So, whether it's social media, any kind of extra marketing that we do, we went on the radio for a while, with Compare, Decide, and Move, get multiple offers without having to give out your information, those type of marketing pieces to really get people to know there is another choice. So, if I'm sitting at home as a consumer, I can go to Zillow and fill everything out. Then I can go to OfferPad and fill everything out. Then I can go to Open Door and fill everything out. And then I got to deal with all these people, or I can go to Offer Depot, submit my address one time, and I get all the offers in a simple side-by-side comparison. Now, in fairness, I don't have it fully automated out the back end of it. There are companies out there that have shifted to that model. I just don't see the need for it from an agent perspective because you can do it yourself. And unless you're doing so much volume that you just couldn't keep up with it, you can go aggregate yourself. I mean, actually the agent is the ultimate aggregator because they can go out to all, we're in a sense, free agents, if you will, right? We can go play for any team. We're not just on one team. And so when I explain that to them, like, I'm just here to work in your best interest, Chris. I don't care which one you choose, or if you decide to go to market, I'm going to help you with that. Either way, I'm your guy or your gal,
Let me ask you about the future. How do you see the future unfolding over the next 10 years as the iBuyers buy box expands, there are exceptions to what they won't buy, decreases, and the convenience fee goes even lower? Like, what do you see the future looking like for people in real estate brokerage?
I think I do believe that there's a place for both, quite honestly. They won't be in every market. They won't be, I say won't be, right? I mean, hell, who knows, right? Who would have thought we'd be having this conversation? But, they go to the bigger markets where, like Phoenix and Vegas and, a lot of markets where we have big subdivisions, stucco, tile roof, like easy to comp, a lot of turnover, those kind of neighborhoods. But from what we see with the consumer in the Phoenix market is, we know that we estimate 40 to 45% of like homes that we're going to already have an instant offer by the time we get there. So the benefit that these iBuyers have, just like Zillow, right? They're getting top of the funnel leads. So they're getting people who are going, well, let me just check this out before I call my agent and start the process of putting my home on the market. So they're getting some really good leads at the top. Now they're all pivoting to hiring real estate agents to take those leads and say, kind of reverse what I've been doing, right? Which is they've got the lead. Now they go, well, here's our direct sale offer, and here's a local market real estate agent, and here's what they could list your home for. Which one do you like? Then they drip in, they offer a concierge service. So they'll give you 10 grand to get the home ready. Obviously it comes out of your equity, but then of course they offer mortgage and title. So as we continue to see things bundle, the cost to transact in real estate is going to continue to get compressed, in my opinion, because each company is going to have all their own tools: title, mortgage, insurance, concierge services, buy, sell, retail, direct sale. And so the benefit they have is, they're getting the top of funnel leads, in my opinion. I mean, people are going there first to avoid the hassle of putting their house on the market. And so I think you're going to continue to see it grow as long as they can scale profitability in other pieces, meaning the house almost becomes the loss leader. If you remember back in the day, right, I don't know what happened, but somehow we shifted. Remember, cell phones were expensive. Then they were almost free because they just wanted you to subscribe to monthly service. And now somehow they've gotten expensive again. But if they can get the house, get you to transact, and you end up buying and selling, and you have to do title twice, and they can help you with insurance and other things. And by the way, if they can make $1,000 net on a home and transact 50,000 homes a year and add the other pieces to it, it actually can be a very profitable model. The problem is most of us that do flips would never buy a home with a margin of $1,000 or $2,000 or even $5,000, really even $10,000. These guys can because they buy at scale. And if you buy, Phoenix, they're buying 400 or 500 homes, 600 homes a month. Well, so they lose on 5 of them, but they make money on the other one. So I think, we're a little bit ignorant to the big picture. I see a lot of forums and posts on this stuff. I don't know. From our experience, the consumer enjoys the experience. They prefer it if they could, especially now you're talking about a contactless society now where we're trying to do things without contacting, now look at delivery and drive through and pickup services. And so the house, if I don't have to have anybody through my house, I'll take less. And keep in mind, one analogy I use, it's like if you went to Vegas, right? And you had $100 bill and you sat at a table, they would give you chips worth $100. And somehow magically you can just let go of those chips and throw them out there and keep betting until you throw another 100 in. To me, equity is almost like chips in Vegas. It's kind of found money. It's not like I went to work, I earned a wage and it's in my savings account or my checking account. Equity is like, I called the agent and he said our house is worth 300 and we owe 200. Holy cow, we have 100,000 equity. Okay, well, would you take 90,000 and not have to go through the hassle of putting your house on the market? Would you take 80,000? Like, what's the number? And I think a lot of people, because it's equity, it's just a little bit less at closing they're getting, but it's not coming out of their hard-earned savings from wages and stuff. And that's my opinion on it, but I've witnessed it enough where people would beat me up over 1% on my commission and take a 12% fee from Open Door. And I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Like, let's focus on the net. And then my next conversation was, well, do you care if I buy it? And that's how I started buying. I loved Open Door in the beginning because if people said they would take it, I'd just say, well, I'll beat it by 1,000 or whatever. I'll just buy the property. And how I look at it is we got a couple choices here. We can either become a tool in their business or we can use them as a tool in our business. And my feeling was, well, I really want to stay in business. I want to go help people. So why wouldn't I have this as a tool in my business? And by the way, since then, now you've got companies where you can buy, then sell. You've got Easy Knock, which you can sell and stay for a while and rent back. A lot of lease purchase programs. So I think the agent role has really shifted from necessarily marketing and negotiating, which I think will always be known for that. But I think from almost being like a loan officer, right? Like if you were my loan officer and I said, Chris, I need to get a loan. You said, oh, great. Here's a conventional 5% down program. Let's go. I'd be like, oh, okay. But that's not all the options in the market. So as a loan officer, you need to know, well, I have a 3, a 3.5, I have FHA, I have VA, I have 20% down. That gets rid of mortgage insurance. Like there's 20 lanes out there. Real estate, we've had one for 100 years. Now all of a sudden there's 10 lanes out there. So as an agent, we need to spend more time getting educated on what the available tools in the market are, because the credibility becomes an issue. If I sit at your kitchen table, Chris, and I tell you how great I am, number one, how many homes I sell, all this great stuff, here's what I can do for you, and I leave, and you and your wife sit on the couch, and an Open Door commercial comes on and says, just put in your address, and within a few minutes, we'll get you an offer. If you like it, you don't have to put your house on the market. Pick your closing date. You're like, well, shit, that sounds pretty good. Why didn't Kenny tell me about that? And now your trust level and your transparency starts to go away to that client. And I think that's the end of referrals and things like that. Well, Kenny probably didn't tell me because he probably doesn't make as much money if I go to them, or because, whatever the reasons. And so we just reversed it and said, guys, we're going to go get you every available tool in the market. What's most important to you, Chris? Is it as much money for your home? Is it convenience? Is it certainty? Do you need to get somewhere? Have you found a spec home that you really need? Because now, even though you're technically contingent, we have a non-emotional cash buyer buying your home. So I can explain that to a listing agent. And it makes, having a contingency a lot less of a burden in a transaction, because technically I already have an iBuyer buying their property. So there's a lot of ways to use it as a tool. We just used it as a differentiator in our marketing. Like, hey, we can get you multiple offers before you even list. Multiple at the time would have been Open Door because OfferPad wasn't around. And the other offer would be an offer to list your house. So there'd be our multiple offers. We're getting now, we can get them, 7, 8 offers per house. And I do think that you will see companies pop up in the luxury space eventually, the bigger rehab space. And by the way, these companies already have those leads and they're already doing stuff with those leads. So here's the problem, Chris. If you went to Open Door and you fill out the form to get an offer on your house, they now have your data. And no matter what, they can continue to market to you. They can do everything. Whereas if I submit for you, they only have my email and my phone number, so they don't have access to you like they would. We've got to make it a little bit harder for them to get our clients' information.
Do you think the clients care about sharing their information? Do you think they really care when they're at a high need of selling?
It's interesting when we explain it to people, it becomes like yeah, you know what, let's have you do that. I don't have time to take all these calls and wonder which offer is better and are they legitimate. The one thing that we do is we actually kind of validate that it is a legitimate offer. And what we found out, which ironically so have the iBuyers, is that the consumer still likes having representation and because this is a big thing, right? This is not like taking an Uber or an Airbnb where you can have a bad experience, but it's transactional. This is really someone's life, and a big part of it. I mean, most people know how many times they've moved. They can remember everything, a lot about it. So yeah, I mean, as long as we bring it to their attention, right? So, you're bringing up the challenge and then you're bringing the solution right behind it. So we just remind them, like, you don't have to give out your personal information. We shop multiple offers, that kind of thing. So yeah, I do think it's a big part of it.
Kenny, you started doing direct mail back in 2003?
2001.
2001. So you started doing direct mail back in 2001. I know you were basically crushing 2 zip codes in Arizona,
yep.
Sending out in excess of 20,000 mailers. And it, helped you yield close to 300 transactions just through that mailer program. How has two big things I want to hopefully extract from you is, number one, how has the iBuyers and what's going on in Phoenix impacted your business, specifically your direct mail campaign? And what are you doing to still make it work? And then second, obviously 2001, when you started doing direct mail, I mean, the Google algorithm hadn't even come out yet. So you've got a course you launched called the Certified Local Market Expert designation. And I know you talk a lot about it in there, but I'm just kind of curious on like some of the granular nuances of like, what you're having to do in addition to the actual like newsletters you're sending out to gain traction. So 2 questions there, one specific to like, what are the nuances you have to do in addition to direct mail? And then how is what's going on in your market with iBuyers, for example, how is that affecting your return with direct mail?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously great questions, and I get it a lot because, people think, farming is expensive, and I go, okay, whatever, to me, I mean, you're trying to build a business over time in a hyper local area, right? And statistically, NAR says 93% of consumers want someone with local market knowledge. Well, that would be somebody who shows up in their mailbox at least once a month. And so, our newsletter is we've had to adapt it over the years, but the consistency and the look of it has changed very little. And what I realized is that, Arizona, of course, here we are, go back to 05, 06, right? We go crazy values. Then late 07, 8, 9, 10, 11, we shift into a short sale foreclosure market, one of the biggest in the country. Then we shift into a highly competitive investor market with institutional investors. Then we get back for about 2 to 3 years of somewhat of a normal competitive market. And then, of course, I get hit with the iBuyers. So what I realized through that, and what really hit me was during the short sale market, is that the newsletter, because it was consistent and over time, it built a trusted audience. And once I had that trusted audience, we just had to keep adapting the message to whatever the market was. So we had, avoid foreclosure, know your options. And we had an attorney and a CPA, and we taught locally in the community twice, 2-3 times a month, just educating people on what is short sale, how does it affect me? I've heard so much stuff. Then we shifted to road back home, which was how to get people on the road back home. So they're coming out of foreclosure. So that was a message. And then we, obviously had to shift to instant offers and, these iBuyer type, marketing side. So really the call to actions just have changed over time based on the market, but the consistency and the piece itself hasn't. And so, making sure people keep seeing our name when they think real estate, we're top of mind, and they know that we're up on the latest info. And then we do workshops at our office here. So we have one this Saturday, kind of our homeowner workshop, just reviewing all their options. Then we have an investor workshop the weekend after. So really trying to lead more so now with education than anything else, is being that source of education instead of being too salesy. So the message adapts over time, but the consistency to it and the actual newsletter and the overall, like the cover, for example, that all stays pretty darn consistent over the years.
How have your results changed over the past 2-3 years? Like how many listings were you getting prior to what, has gone down in Phoenix with iBuyers, and how many are you getting now?
It's interesting. I mean, we've been pretty blessed, or we've been pretty consistent through everything. But I would say that, starting a new farm or two that we tried was a lot more difficult, took longer to get started than this one. And I think a lot of that is because everybody has their phone now, right? Now there's Nextdoor, there's, a lot more data at their fingertips. There's Zillow, there's things like that where they can get that information. So it's definitely changed. It's gotten a lot more competitive. Of course, in Phoenix, we have so many real estate agents, and the market's been good now for the last 10 years. So, we're inundated with competition, and of course, all the discount brokerages and things like that come into the market. So it's a challenge to still get the market share that we do, but we'll be close to 500 closings this year. Up about 70 or so from last year. So, I mean, we're still the farm is still the number one source of lead gen. And interestingly enough, we had to start double sourcing all of our leads, meaning that a lead that we call a past client today, we also had to have what was the original lead source. Oh, it was the farm, because we started quickly realizing the farm wasn't looking quite the same, and yet it was actually growing our business because now we have so many repeat referral, let alone just new people coming into our world. And so by sourcing it, it gave us a better indication that, yeah, that originally came from the farm, but now they've bought and sold 2 or 3 times, or 4 or 5 times, whatever the number is. And so it gives us a better indicator. So I'm 100% behind it. I think the difference is it used to be just pretty much all print and a website. Now you've got to be active in some of the Nextdoor sites. You've got to be, we have a Facebook page for the community. We have a website for the community. So it's a lot to keep all that updated and value. And that's why we really kind of started pushing the classes, because we wanted to get known as the market leaders, and we're willing to educate people first before they make a decision who they're going to hire. So they come out and meet us face to face. So like this Saturday, I think we have 11 or 12 people coming, maybe more than that. That was a week ago. For my brother who will lead that, it's fantastic. It's like he gets to do like 7-8 listing appointments in an hour. It's the most efficient, effective hour on a Saturday morning or a Thursday night that we've had. But what you don't realize is how many people actually see that in the newsletter and go, these guys must know what they're doing. They're willing to get in front of people and teach on it.
So you tried entering sounds like you tried entering a new zip code and you pulled out. Why did you, do you think now that it's pointless for somebody to try to go after a farm because we have all these very local type websites like Nextdoor now?
I think it's a little bit more of a challenge to get that initial branding in there. And some of it's the who, right? I mean, like, I teach in the class kind of running what we call, well, we used to call it the realtor route, but NAR, we can't call it that. So it's our farm route. But we really teach, you have to be like running for mayor. Like you have to be involved in the community. Like, we do a neighborhood network meeting once a month, and we invite all the local business owners to come to our network meeting. We've got 40 some different businesses that carry our newsletter in their lobby every month. So it forces us once a month to go re-deliver the newest newsletter. There's a lot of activities around it to build that foundation, and not everybody's always willing to play at that level, if you will. I was just heavily involved in the community, and of course I had kids in school at the time and was very, very busy in it. And then, sponsoring and giving back to the community, that's obviously, people like to see that. But I think now more than ever, people need a trusted advisor, and there's so much noise with the internet and in the market. And if you can get that brand and your brand in front of people, the goal is that hopefully they will call you first. And in a market shift, your market share will actually grow. In a good market, it is a little more competitive. But the thing is you can do all the activities that agents are doing. You just focus it on 1,000 homes. As I call it like hunting and farming. You're still hunting. You're still doing open houses in other areas. You're still prospecting. You're still doing things, but you just spend some time every week prospecting in that area, previewing properties, getting to know your market. It just gives you a purpose, and you feel like it builds. So you do it for a year, you get a deal or two. Now next year you get 2 or 3 or 4 deals, and then and it just compounds over time if you're the right person for it too, right? It's not for everyone. You've got to be.
It seems like scaling direct mail would be extremely difficult. Oh, there's my 4-year-old. I'm like working from home.
That's right. Today's world, right?
We actually are full speed ahead at my office. Even now with COVID going on. We went back full steam ahead in August, end of July, beginning of August. But we did a lot to our office too. We put up these glass panels on all the desks, put in air, commercial grade air purifiers. We put in the ductwork, the ultraviolet light. Routine wiping the place down. Thermal scanner you have to go walk up to, take your temperature. Anyways, but long story short, there's private offices, and then there's these big open areas. And, I had to give up my private office so that I could have a couple other staff members fit in there, and then they keep their distance, you know what I mean? Right. So, okay. So let's touch on the course you created. If people listening to the show are interested in learning more about the designation they can get to learn how to be a master at farming and becoming the mayor of a specific area, where would they go to get more information on that?
So it's just called the 4 letters, so CLME, which is Certified Local Market Expert. And basically, we just open up the playbook to what we've done. So we have samples of all of our newsletters, our calls to action, how we set up the network meeting, how we build the the move-in bucket where we have coupons from the local businesses. We just really show the activities that we're doing, not theory, but here's what we're actually doing, and we're doing it today. This isn't 5 years ago and something. This is stuff that we've been doing for 20 years, but we're still doing it today, still doing those activities. So we try to keep it, updated and relevant. I'd say the big difference, and you already kind of touched on it, is you kind of have to be like the mayor, but you also kind of have to be the digital mayor too, meaning you have to be in those forums, you have to be answering questions. People have to stay top of mind, but the rewards have been, like I said, consistently. It's taken a very inconsistent business, meaning real estate, because most agents, you see the up and down trends. They have a good month, 2 bad months, a good month or 2, and it's created a very, very good consistent flow to our business as far as listing appointments and things like that. And like I said, each market's different, so it's weird right now because there's so many agents and there's so many people vying for the attention of a buyer or seller, right? If they click on something and they're getting redirect ads, like it's very, very difficult. So we try to use that the opposite way and just kind of like, your trusted advisors for the last 20 years, located right here in your neighborhood. Like you can come visit us. Like we'll sit down and talk. Like we want to provide that, that experience and kind of provide clarity in a very unclear market when you talk about the internet today and the amount of ads and things coming at people, and they don't know who to trust. And so that's where I think farming has at least been that beacon of light to build that trusted audience, in a geographic area over time.
Cool. Well, guys, if you want to learn more, go check out CLME.com. And Kenny, Klaus, thank you so much for being on this episode today. This was very enlightening, a little bit scary about the future of real estate, but like you said, we've got to get our head out of the sand and we've got to position ourselves to use these things as tools to differentiate ourselves and help the consumer get the best outcome possible. So Kenny, I appreciate you coming on to CEO Secrets today.
Well, and just keep in mind, I think the one thing that we've seen now over the last 5-6 years is that the iBuyers and companies like Knock and all these different companies out there that originally tried to do this without agents are realizing that they actually need agents.
Yeah.
They need local market expertise. This is not a transactional thing. Like I said, this is an emotional experience for people. So I think the exciting thing is that they realize that we still need good people on the ground and agents. And the one thing about agents is we're the ultimate aggregator, like I said, because we can go to any of these products. If Open Doors has an agent for them and they're talking to them, they can only sell their product and their system. It's kind of like when we talk about a mortgage bank or a broker, right? If I go to Wells Fargo, Wells has Wells Fargo's programs. If I go to Loan Depot has Wells Fargo's programs plus hundreds of others. And so we try to tell the consumer, like, don't limit yourself. Like, we are still there and we can help you with all of these options. And a lot of them have no cost to the consumer because some of them pay referral fees anyway. And so, Offerpad is paying 3% referral fee right now. I mean, it's not a bad deal at all. And so I just think that we have to adapt. We don't want the change, but the change is inevitable. I think the exciting thing is that all these online companies are realizing, what? A real estate agent is still going to have to be involved in the transaction. And so I think that's the great news for us going forward. Now, as agents, we just have to sharpen our tools and get better at our craft and know all these programs. So if you don't know what's available in your community, like Open Door, Offerpad, or Zillow, is Knock available? Is Easy Knock? Is are the lease purchase programs available? Like, you should know all of those programs. So when you sit down, you're giving your people so many choices and options compared to, like, Chris, if you walked into a listing appointment and you just, I'm Chris, this is my pedigree, this is what I do, I'm excited. And then I walk in and I give them a go-to-market, 3 instant offers. Would you want to sell and stay for a while, release some of your equity? And you all of a sudden you give them all these choices. We can thank Jeff Bezos for that, right? I mean, that's Amazon is choice. They created a hub of all these different products and consumers can pick choice. And I think that's what they want is, don't put me in the same box as all 3 neighbors on my street. Mine, I may need an instant offer. Another one may have time to get it. They don't have a house to sell. One might be an investment property. They don't have the hassle of moving. So we have to differentiate ourselves and have more tools so that the consumer can pick what's the right route for them instead of us trying to tell them this is the route for you. Assumption's the biggest mistake we make. Like I said earlier, that you want as much money as you can for your home. Well, of course you do. But if I provide you want to close in 17 days and have no showings and certainty that this deal is going to close, would you take this for that? You'd be surprised how many people would go, yep. So just keep an open mind.
Yeah, that's for anybody listening. That's a good sigh of relief that, as you mentioned, that agents are going to be critical to the transaction, and seeing it just like you are. All of the iBuyers are hiring agents and are realizing how important they are. So there's definitely going to be a place for them in the future. But the future is a little scary because, I mean, gosh, we think about the real estate industry. NAR was formed in 1908. And in the last couple of years, the real estate brokerage industry is seeing more changes than it has, going back over 100 years, right? So a lot of disruption happening. So Kenny, again, I appreciate you for being on the show. Again, for anybody listening, be sure to check out CLME if you'd like to learn from one of the foremost experts in direct mail farming and gaining market share in a specific geographic area. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're on YouTube or podcasts, and be sure to tune in next week for our next guest. All right, everybody, have a great day. Bye, guys.
Thanks, Chris.